Hi, welcome to the season finale of season 4 of Play On. I'll be your host, Jack. It's just me today. And let's just get right into it with some of the newer games that have been coming out over the past few months. Relatively recently, Kirby and the Forgotten Land came out. Everything I've heard about it is very, it's like Kirby. It's really hard to mess up a Kirby game. But this one in particular seems to be much more. It's garnering a lot more hype than some of the other ones. I played through Kirby Star Allies, and it was probably one of the most average games I've ever played. You kind of just go through all of the levels, and you reach the end, and you're like, okay, well, it was a video game. I could say that much about it. But Kirby and the Forgotten Land seems to have a lot more depth to it. Like it seems like the developers put a lot more time and effort into this game. It's the first fully 3D Kirby game, so the developers had a lot of opportunities to expand on the traditional Kirby formula, and it has the fun new gimmick of mouthful mode, where Kirby doesn't really do the Kirby thing of swallowing the enemies and getting their powers. No, in this one he doesn't even get to step 1. It's just kind of around his mouth, which I find very funny. So if you just want a more casual, lighthearted adventure, I recommend Kirby. Another game that got some new updates recently is Nickelodeon AllStar Brawl. When all the trailers came out for it, it looked like Super Smash Bros. But with your favorite Nickelodeon characters. And recently, it was announced that Jenny from My Life as a Teenage Robot, Hugh Neutron from Jimmy Neutron, and Rocco from Rocco's Modern Life are going to be playable fighters. This game kind of died off in popularity because people are like, okay, this is just like a standard licensed game. It's kind of just more for like the fun of it, not for actual competitive play. But anytime new characters get announced for it, everyone's like, yes, it's Hugh Neutron, my favorite character ever. I wanted to play as him for so long. It's just really, really funny. And I know that like the developers are putting a lot of time and effort into this as well. Like it feels like they really care about it. Instead of just wanting to make another trash licensed game, they really want to make it as deep and interesting as possible. Something more akin to the SpongeBob game Battle for Bikini Bottom, where it's kind of like just like a licensed game that was made in a very quick amount of time, but developed a core audience that really enjoys it to this day. Recently, the Stanley Parable got a new release. It has a lot more content, which is really funny because after you get to a certain point, there's just a door saying new content, so you know exactly when the differences between the old one and the new one happen. It's a very meta game where you're just playing as a standard dude, and the narrator says, oh, this Stanley took the door on the left, and you haven't done it yet, so you could either follow what the narrator said or deviate from the narrator. So it gets kind of deep like that, where it provides a lot of thought-provoking, questions for the player, where you have to consider, like, is this even like a video game? Is this like someone trying to tell me something? It's a very thought-provoking experience. So if you want something more serious and deep, then I'd recommend Stanley Parable. And the last new game I'll talk about is Nintendo Switch Sports. A lot of people have been kind of disappointed by it, which I can understand because the original Wii Sports was kind of, everyone loves it. It's very nostalgic, but it's not that deep of a game. It's very simple. So I think a lot of people were kind of baited by the nostalgia that Nintendo Switch Sports has. But it's a casual party game, so if you enjoyed playing Wii Sports as a kid, then you'll probably enjoy this one. I don't know if you'd want to take it like seriously. I know there's like online ranked bowling if you're into that, which for me kind of goes against the point of this kind of game. But it's still casual multiplayer fun. Now some older games that I still enjoy. One of them is Earthbound. This one is on the Super Nintendo, and I've been playing it a bit recently. It's the main inspiration for Undertale, which got very, very popular. It's an RPG where it has a lot of very, very interesting mechanics that are very ahead for its time. One example is that if you're way higher, if you're much stronger than an enemy you come across, you just automatically win the fight, so you don't have to waste your time on like a weak enemy. It's very funny. In a lot of games, you kind of just skip through the dialogue because you don't care, but you absolutely don't want to do that in Earthbound because a lot of it is genuinely funny. Another part that contributes to the comedy of the game is that it's a very like foreign depiction of America. It's like if you went to someone in Europe or Japan and asked them to describe what America is like, that is kind of what Earthbound is. So it's kind of a parody of American culture. So I think that's really fun. Another game that got in kind of new life is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Recently, a new way to play the game was popularized, where you can do a very particular movement with your control stick and the jump button, and you can kind of jump while facing the opposite direction. It's a very advanced maneuver if you want to get very serious about the game. And for me, that's just super cool how people can find one new thing about a really old game that they still care about, and all of a sudden new life is breathed into it, and everyone's talking about it again, and everyone's having fun with it again. So that's just a cool little thing that happened with Super Smash Bros. I've described this effect before, where a game will get super popular, and everyone's playing it, then it kind of overstays its welcome, and everyone thinks it's really cringe, so it dies off in popularity because of all the memes that were made out about it, and then it like flatlines in popularity and no one's ever talking about it. But then at the very end, it rises up in popularity because people were like, okay, this is actually fun. And I think that just happened, that final step just happened for Among Us. It's a game that definitely fell off super hard due to all the people making memes going, haha, when the imposter is sus. It got kind of bogged down by those. But I think at this point, you can just play it with friends and have fun with it again. Of course, there are going to be people that still kind of don't take it seriously and kind of just joke around. But if you get a group of people that like really care about just having, like trying to win, trying to do all the cool plays and stuff, then I feel like now is a great time to do that. Now, some upcoming games that I'm looking forward to. One is called Live Alive. I believe it's an old game for the NES that's getting remade in the HD 2D style that Square Enix likes to do. You play as like 8 different characters. I think it's 8, and each character is like its own little game that takes place in its own time period. So it's like a bunch of different adventures happen all separately, but they're all connected in some way. So at least just from looking at it without it even being out yet, it looks very, very deep in its story about how all these different events can come together and create one big event. I don't know, it just looks super fun. Another game that's coming out pretty soon is called Multiverses. I talked a little bit ago about Nickelodeon AllStar Brawl. Multiverses is like that, but for your favorite Cartoon Network shows, such as, I know Tom and Jerry is in there, characters from Adventure Time are in there, I know Batman and Superman are in there. So it's stuff like that. And this game in particular has a strong focus on 2v2 play. Pretty much every other fighting game out there is all about hardcore 1v1s. So a new fighting game where it's team-based and you're trying to do team-based combos, or maybe one character is like a healer or a tank that takes all the damage while your other teammate is dishing out all of the damage. It's a very unique game in that sense. 2v2 has always existed for stuff like Smash Bros, but it was never as popular as the 1v1s. So it's very interesting to see a new game where 2v2 is the primary way to play. And the last upcoming game I'll talk about is Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet. Pokemon Sword and Shield, the last games were kind of underwhelming. Sword and Shield to me is like very, very, very watered down lemonade. It tastes very, very bland, but like the very hints of lemon flavor that you can barely detect are good. That's how I feel about Sword and Shield. So my biggest hopes for Generation 9 is that they balance the game so it's not like a free win. A lot of the Pokemon games tend to be pretty easy, and Gen 9 probably will not be an exception. I mean, the target demographic is like 5-year-olds, so you have to make the game so someone just pressing the same button over and over can win. But I feel like they definitely got a whole lot of feedback, mostly negative, about Pokemon Sword and Shield. So I'm really hoping that they'll listen to the fans and correct what they did wrong in Sword and Shield. All right, and that wraps it up for me. Thank you guys for watching, and check you guys out in Season 5.